Hey guys, what's going on? It's Andrew from AR Media. In tonight's video, I'm going to review Ghost in the Shell in 4K UHD Blu-ray. I gave this a watch last night, and I'm going to let you know about the movie itself, the picture quality, if it's worth the pickup. Let's get to it. So I gave Ghost in the Shell a watch last night. I'm going to be honest with you, it's a mixed bag for me in terms of story. So I really liked the atmosphere. I kind of fell in love with the atmosphere. So this takes place in the future where you can get basically robotic parts to your body, robotic organs, and I really like that future tech element about it, as well as the atmosphere. The actual city landscape was amazing. It was bright, it was vibrant. It had 3D advertisements that came out at you and traveled across the pavement. There was tons of layers and scaling to the city. It looked like it would be so fun to explore. But I felt the story itself was kind of weak. Now, I actually seen the anime a bunch of times, so it's not like I'm a diehard Ghost in the Shell fan, but I am familiar with the story. And they stuck true to the original. I just feel like they could have done it a little bit better. I feel like they really went all out with the atmosphere and the vibe of the Ghost in the Shell anime, but didn't stick with the action-heavy drawing you in as the anime did. And that's not to say this is a bad movie. I did really enjoy this movie, actually. I'm really excited to give it a second watch because I think I may like it more my second and third time watching because I really like the atmosphere and the setting and how they set everything up with the characters. Now on to the picture quality. Now this is also a mixed bag for me. Now when this came out in theaters, I thought this was going to be the demo disc when it came out on 4K. One, it was shown in theaters with Dolby Atmos, and it didn't come to disc with Dolby Atmos. So that was my first letdown for this disc. Second letdown, this thing was shot with a 5K camera, all digital, and finished at a 2K digital intermediate. Now, I understand shooting at 4K and finishing at 2K for cropping reasons, but shooting at 5K and downscaling to 2K on a movie when you're trying to get so visual like they are in Ghost in the Shell, I mean, this is a very visually strong movie. There was no reason for it not to be a 4K digital intermediate. But onto the transfer. So it's a 2K DI. From that, you do get an increase in detail and you do see an increase in depth, but it's not major over the Blu-ray. Don't get me wrong, you will see differences there. This is still a very good transfer, but it's not night and day over the Blu-ray. Now, I will say that the depth here is better than the detail. We will see a little bit more layers. I feel like that is because there was a 3D component of this, but the depth is very good. Now, another negative I want to hit on is the black levels. Now, this is a very dark movie. A lot of it takes place in dark settings, which I was surprised by as it is. And in the dark settings, the blacks they were a little muddy at points. They were a little gray at points, and I think it was a little inconsistent on the black levels. Now, I'm probably making this out to be a bad transfer, and it's not. It's a digital transfer. It looks amazing. When she is outside in the landscape, let's get to the main star of the show, the HDR. When she is in the landscape, those advertisements, the city streets, the car lights, everything pops off the screen, and the HDR is beautiful on this one. That futuristic city landscape just looks amazing. As she's being built, as the Ghost in the Shell, looks phenomenal with the HDR highlighting. The HDR is definitely the star of the show here. But again, I have to complain a little bit and say that for such a bright futuristic movie, I feel like they could have dialed up the HDR not a little bit higher, and it wouldn't have negatively affected the movie. It wouldn't have made it oversaturated. I think that this movie was meant to be mind-blowingly colorful, and it is at points, but I still feel that the color should be more there. Now, the shadow detail was greatly improved with the HDR on this one, luckily, because it is a darker film. So here you can make out everything in shadow detail. You can make out everything in the darker scenes with Scarlett Johansson, but the black levels, as I said before, are a little inconsistent and muddy. Now, guys, as a conclusion, I know this sounds like a bad review for Ghost in the Shell. It may be just because I went in with high expectations visually, but it's also because they just disappointed me. You can't, when you shoot at 5K and finish at 2K, when you show Dolby Atmos in theater and don't include it on the disc, it just seems like they didn't want this to be a quality 4K release. And when you're going to release it in 4K, I feel like you should go all out. This should have been a 4K digital intermediate. The detail on this should have been impeccable. The HDR this should have been the demo disc that pops off your screen. I was expecting this to be like Pacific Rim, like the HUD on Pacific Rim, and Sadly, it's not. And don't get me wrong, it's bright, it's beautiful. I definitely suggest picking it up because I enjoyed the movie and I enjoyed the transfer, but it is not that wow moment you're looking for. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review today. Please throw me a thumbs up if you did, throw me a thumbs down if you didn't, and subscribe down below for more content in the future. Have a good night, guys.